Hey friends, thanks for joining me, Jim Baroud, to hear a few insights from leaders who represent our innovation ecosystem. Today's chat is with Laurent Burlion, Assistant Professor at Rutgers Department of Mechanical and Aerospace Engineering, and Dan Otoole, a serial entrepreneur and the founder and CEO of Dronedek.
Hello, everybody. So first, I graduated a few years ago now. In 2003, I was a military engineer in France. So I spent a few years at the French DoD. And then I switched and came back to the public sector. So I was a researcher at the French Aerospace Lab, working on drones, but also on planes with Airbus, on satellites. And then finally, I had this opportunity to join the United States. So that's a very exciting opportunity. And I started as an assistant professor teaching at Rutgers 3 years ago. So thank you, everybody.
Great. Thank you, Laurent. All right, Dan, go ahead.
Hey, guys. Thanks for joining. Thanks for inviting me, James. Dan Otoole, serial entrepreneur, graduated Ball State University in 1986. I'm 58 years old, married, 4 kids, been married 33 years. Best lady in the world, love her. She supported me through all my crazy ideas. So, as I've gone through in life, I've done, I've tried everything. I've always had the philosophy that I don't want to be 80 years old sitting in a cubicle somewhere wondering what would have happened had I tried that. I've had a lot of failures. I wouldn't trade one failure for not knowing. So that's what drives me. I've had my own distribution company. I've been in contracting. Recently, I sold a company that did nationwide facility maintenance, and I've been involved in commercial real estate. I own some industrial warehouses, and then I had this idea for Dronedek, which I know we'll talk about. That I've sold my company to focus 100% on this. So that's where I am now, and there you go. Thanks.
That's great. Thanks a lot. Thanks, Dan. Thanks, Laurent. So let's get into it a little bit. Laurent, talk to us. You gave us your bio is super long, so I know that was a very shortened version. Talk to us about your research, a little bit more about what you've worked on the past, 10 or so years regarding drones.
Yeah, so my research is on a particular topic named control, and it can be used to control any kind of autonomous system from planes, satellite to drones. So that's why I'm working on drone. It can illustrate some kind of mathematical equations and result, and everybody can understand, why it's so useful to control drones. So I work on safety, how to guarantee that the drone will not fall, how to guarantee that the drone will avoid obstacles. So I do the same thing on planes, of course.
I came up with the idea literally, as I alluded to earlier, I've always been kind of a serial entrepreneur. I always like to think about why not do something a different way? Why is it always this way? And so I'm always trying to push the limit in my mind. And this occasion, I was returning from Chicago on a business trip, and I was literally driving down one of those Indiana rural 2-lane roads with cornfields on both sides. And somebody was literally flying a drone next to me. And it just caught my eye as I was driving, and I started daydreaming about drone delivery and what everybody was focused. This is back in 2014 when people were just starting to think about the idea of it, and people were thinking about drone, which I think is the commodity part of it. No offense, Laurent, but what about the end game? Where's every delivery going to end? How are you going to secure those, safeguard them? And then if you come up with what I call the next generation mailbox, what can you do to make that great? What can how can you make it like the next iPhone? And so my mind started running. By the time I got home, I had a multiple amount of ideas, and I was going crazy. I couldn't wait to get them all written down because I didn't want to forget any. And I've been, as being a serial entrepreneur, found a lot of ideas throughout my career. And one thing I learned is when one person has an idea, 10 people literally have that same idea at the same time. And it comes down to a race of execution. Who's going to act on it? And then who's the guy that said, man, I had that same idea. And I've been that guy in the past where I got beat out by Sony on a remote control idea I had. I got beat out by General Motors on a medical device idea I had. And I wasn't going to get beat this time. So I ran to the patent office, and lo and behold, my patent issued 3 years later And it turned out that I had beaten Amazon by just 9 days. I beat the post office by 14. I beat another company by 22 days. So that really much validated my idea about the race. So anyway, that's how I came up with the idea, and that's how I'm here able to talk to you guys today, because I won that race.
That's really amazing, and that must have been so rewarding, right? To I mean, you're going against one of the most powerful companies in the world, right? In tech.
Yeah, the funny thing is, I mean, it took 3 years for the patent to issue. And one day I'd wake up and I'd say, man, I've got this great idea. I know it's going to be revolutionary. And then the next day I'd wake up and I'd say, what are the odds of me really beating the Amazon or any of these big guys, because you never know. And it was a 3-year wait where you're on that roller coaster of emotions, and then I got it. And you're right, Jim, I was totally elated. I couldn't believe, my attorney called me and said, hey, I got some great news. Your patent's issued. I was like, what? I can't believe it, And so it was a miracle. So here we are today.
So let's show this video.
Okay. So this is the Dronedek here. We are consolidating all delivery to one point. That's one thing we're really excited about. If as this evolves here, you'll see we've actually built the mailbox right into the Dronedek, right there in the door. Yeah, the Postal Service doesn't play well with others. They don't like commingling of any of their mail or parcels. In our product roadmap, we envision consolidating all delivery to one point. So that would be the U.S. Postal Service conventional aerial drone, robotic delivery, and unmanned driverless vehicle delivery. And we know that by being platform agnostic and welcoming to all modes of delivery, that's how we deliver the greatest user value. So we use an advanced API that we've developed to allow the drone to get right on station, and it sends an encrypted message. We authenticate it. It's the right product coming to the right Dronedek. We allow access, and then we resecure once the item was safely deposited. We have a heated and cool. We can scan, obviously, so we know what we have. We send you a notification. We have a heated and cooled cargo area, opening up delivery of food, beverage, pharmaceuticals. We have a process, UV process to disinfect packages against coronavirus and other hazards that we just happened to luck onto before coronavirus was even a thing. We had that in our patent. We have an emergency light 911 alert. If you have an emergency at your house, you hit the 911 icon, you press police, fire, or ambulance. If you hit the fire, we dispatch the fire department. Your light starts strobing at that moment, and first responders can come right to you. You can see we're set up for autonomous driverless vehicle delivery that just came by. This pickup truck that you're going to see here showcases an idea that we have for a mobile unit. We want to disrupt commercial trades. When somebody comes to your house or business to do work, they run out of an item, they always leave, they never come back. We can order right on site and get delivered to the job site, and that's going to save a lot of time and money, production, things like that. We're working to take vehicles off the road to be carbon neutral by 2050. Dronedek is really going to accelerate the way the last mile logistics happen, and that's just a quick version of what we're doing.
I'm glad you got a chance to go over that. I'm glad people had a chance to see that. It's really, really great technology. And I think, if you could speak to it, Dan, a little bit, people don't realize how expensive it is to get that last mile delivery, right? You got to hire a person, take a car, the emissions and stuff. Drones, and I heard this from an investor the other day, when it comes down from $7 or $8, that's the current cost to take something from a nearby restaurant or something or a warehouse. When you can reduce that by drones to $1, again, this is what this investor mentioned. You have probably a better sense for how much it would cost, but that changes the game, right, for everything.
It's a game changer.
So talk to us just a bit about, just expand on that just a little bit.
Sure. Well, Dronedek, we just feel like our time is right now. Everything we're doing is a direct, purposeful mission is awesome, but even the byproducts of that are awesome. For instance, convenience, speeding up convenience, saving time, making things faster, reducing costs, inherent in that social distancing, right? coronavirus comes along and now you have social distancing, we have a great product for that, right? We can interface without interacting. We're bridging the labor gap right now, right? Anecdotally, in Fort Wayne, Indiana, which is a mid-market city in Indiana, today UPS is going to deliver to 8,000 more locations than they did in Fort Wayne, Indiana a year ago. Now, if you extrapolate that across the country, across all carriers, you can see that huge stress on the last mile in logistics. And then you add the labor shortage that we have going on right now. How do you bridge that gap? The only way you're going to bridge that gap is through autonomy. Here's Dronedek. Here's drone delivery. It's just in the right place at the right time. We're taking vehicles off the road. We just commissioned an environmental report that is just coming back to us right now, and it's staggering the metrics that we're going to be able to share, not only in the form of what one Dronedek means to to your family, and what the personal reduction and all kinds of different hazards that we all produce every year, but taking vehicles off the road, miles reduced, miles driven, greenhouse gases, vehicles off the road. The amount of traffic accidents that we're going to save is going to be mind blowing. You're not going to believe it. And then that's deaths, right? Injuries. There's so many dominoes that fall when you have a great technology like this, right, that's going to disrupt our lives. So that's where we are.
So thank you for that, Dan. Laurent, why don't you comment on the technology, what you're seeing, and then let's take it sort of in the macro view, right? What are we seeing across the country and maybe globally, as far as where we see drones today and where we see drone penetration, let's just say 5 years from now. So go ahead.
So I've got a few comments, technical comments first about this solution. So that's very exciting. I like it a lot. That's probably very energy efficient, and that's also something very important now. So I've got a few comments. I like the fact that it can be recharged on the mailbox, correct?
Yes.
So that's very good, because as you know, a drone cannot fly, a long time. So that's I really like this thing. That's something we have also in my lab. We have a platform to recharge the drones automatically. Yeah, I like also the idea of having this rope with the package going in the mailbox. There are many researchers working on that. Slug load problem, when there is a lot of wind, how you make that in a very safe manner. Yeah, this solution from the technical viewpoint is very, very interesting.
Thank you. Thank you.
Is there any questions you have, Laurent, for him about the product, though? What concerns might you have that might not be obvious in that video?
Sure. So I've got some questions. I'm sure you are aware about the regulation. So where are we now? And so that's my first question. And second question, what about the noise? What do you think?
Sure. Well, the first thing I want to clarify is we are not the drone. We're the Dronedek, right? We're welcoming to all shippers and deliverers. We stand tall, rain, shine, day or night. And if you can get it to us, we can accept it. And the only limiting factor on what we can accept is the mode of transportation getting it to us. For instance, a drone might be able to carry 5 pounds. We can receive a 5-pound package. If a UPS guy brings us something that weighs 20 pounds, we can receive that. So we are not the drone, we're the Dronedek. The second question, what was the second question you just asked?
It was about the noise.
The noise, yes. So again, we're not the drone, we're the Dronedek. There is technology. Hush drone out there right now is developing a quiet drone. There's a lot of, obviously the noise is the first thing people think of a lot of times, but I can tell you this. I recently went out to Christiansburg, Virginia, where Google Wing is doing a 4,000 home pilot program. And I met with several of the pilot program participants and was able to receive drone delivery at their addresses. And I can tell you that I specifically asked that question, and they said that the noise is not a factor whatsoever. It's something that you just factor in, just like traffic. It's air traffic, if you will. So I was happy to hear that, because that was a concern that I had as well. But the value that they receive through drone delivery outweighs the nuisance, I guess, of the noise. So that was good to hear. I asked a lot of probing questions like you might have. because I wanted to get a feel for what we don't know, right? When it's out in the field happening, it's often different than in a lab or when you're, devising something. So it was really encouraging to hear the value. I mean, we ordered an item, and within 7 minutes from order time, we had received the items. So, I mean, you can't even think about something get in your garage to get in your car hardly in 7 minutes, right? So, I think that's going to be so disruptive. People are going to be willing to overlook some of those things. And as we know, technology is always advancing, right? So if there is an issue, we're always going to defeat that. That's what we do.
But the regulation point, so where are we on that? Is that holding us back, or is government being supportive of the sandboxing this effort to pilot this?
You know, safety is always paramount, right? You're always going to err on the side of safety, and that's what we do. And to our credit, I mean, we're a great country, and probably a lot of the reason is because we do things the right way. I will say that there are other parts of the world that are advancing faster than the U.S. They're not as restrictive. I did just come back from the Consumer Electronics Show. I met with the FAA out there, and I can tell you that there's a great trajectory. There's a lot of movement happening behind the scenes. The EU just allowed drone delivery in the last couple months. So, it is changing. It is happening. We have the biggest companies in the world iterating in that space, the trillion-dollar market caps, Apple, Google, Amazon, and others. And they're spending a lot of money, and there's a reason. They know this is going to happen. The horse is out of the barn, if you will, and it's just a matter of time, not if. And I do see it happening probably in the next 24 months. I think you're going to start seeing a large deployment of opportunities out there, and then from there it'll just grow even faster.
Got it. So Laurent, where are we? We're in a 9-inning game, baseball game. Where are we as far as drone technology and penetration?
So sorry, I don't know the rules of baseball because I'm French, but so I cannot exactly tell you. So we are, I think we are just before, we are at a very interesting moment when drones will be more and more used for package delivery, but also for inspection, monitoring. I think there is a big opportunity in addition to package delivery currently with the Infrastructure Act, because drones can be useful for monitoring, for inspection of the bridges, the roads, electricity lines. So we are at the beginning of something great. And as I said, maybe at the beginning, that we are very close also to have the flying taxi, because the drone and flying taxi, that's the same thing. You just increase, it's just a scaling factor. So we are also close to have this flying taxi. Once we have the regulations, everything working for drones, why not having the same thing for bigger drones?
So let me ask you this then, as far as home delivery, how many years away are we from sort of pretty good access for the common person who lives in a house and could have something like a Dronedek? And then how many years are we away from a flying taxi? Just guesstimate. You're not a psychic, so tell me what your best guess is.
So for the drone delivery, I think it's almost a question of 1-2 years probably, and also Dan can correct me. For flying taxi, I think it will take probably around 10 more years, but it will not take 50 years. It's quite soon also.
Got it. And so Dan, let me ask you that same question. You're obviously in this sector and looking at it as an entrepreneur who has a product. What's your take as far as years? Let's go with the year analogy. We don't have to go with baseball, although I know you know baseball.
Thanks. Yeah, no, I agree. I think I'm saying 2 years before it's really accepted. It's not a novelty. Okay, it's going to happen even sooner than that. We're going to start rolling out Dronedek units this year. We're going to be doing a pilot program with the United States Postal Service Q1 of this year. We got a lot of things, but those are all limited use cases, right? But when the novelty kind of comes off, I'd say within about 2 years, where people, it's not like, wow, check that out. It's you're gonna know about it. The flying taxi, I agree with Laurent. Anytime you have humans involved, flying autonomously, that's even a higher level of safety, and they're going to be even more deliberate about that. 10 years could be right. I'm not, I'm not really in that space exactly, so I'll defer to Laurent on that. But it's all happening. Our world is changing. Autonomy is we're never going to regress. We're always moving forward. People talk about you're taking people's jobs. We're not taking jobs. We're creating better jobs. Just in the ecosystem of Dronedek, look at what we have. We've got manufacturing, installation, maintenance. We're creating new verticals as far as delivery. We've got collections, sales. It's just a whole different. We're really transitioning jobs from one form to another, and we would argue that we're upgrading those opportunities. We think that working at Dronedek is going to be an uptick for any opportunity that we're creating out there is going to replace something that was not to that level is how we look at it. And that's not demeaning to anybody. We want to create value. We want to create wealth, and we want to make lives easier for people. And that's what we're delivering here at Dronedek.
And so if we look through across the country, you mentioned some places where they're piloting efforts of home delivery. Where are those sort of sandboxes domestically and internationally?
Sure. But do you want me to handle it or Laurent?
Sure, Dan, why don't you handle it first, and Laurent could take it as well.
There's several opportunities throughout the world. I would say virtually every developed country in the world has some use case going right now. Africa, Japan, China, India, Europe, Australia. It's everywhere. Everywhere, really. I mean, there's 100 countries doing some form of it out there. The U.S. as well. Within the U.S., I would say hotbeds: Virginia, North Carolina, Texas, California, North Dakota, Indiana. We're looking to join those ranks. We've announced Lawrence, Indiana. We're going to be doing a 4,000 address use pilot program with Dronedek rollout. That's going to be phased over the next couple of years. But Lawrence, Indiana is a very progressive city that wants to be a smart city and wants to be a city of firsts. They've embraced the Dronedek technology. We love Lawrence, Indiana. It's in our backyard. We're headquartered there. And so we're hoping to put them on the map in a big way in the autonomous space.
Great. All right, Laurent, what's your take?
So I'm not as aware as you, of course, about all these places because I don't work on drone delivery. But I agree. I agree with these places. I guess New Jersey would like for sure to join you. I'm always amazed by Africa and also the use of drones for blood delivery.
Right.
So I think there is a very, very good opportunity also in Africa.
Got it. All right. So what about funding, right? Laurent, you get funding from the government, right? And obviously from grants, maybe some corporates. From your perspective, Laurent, is there enough funding? Is there enough funding on the way? And then with the new bills coming down the pike, talk to us about how you see the funding landscape for your research.
So yeah, in academia, there are the traditional sources of funding, especially if you work on autonomy and autonomous systems. So first, of course, you've got the DoD. So I work with the Navy on a grant about how to make safer drones flying over the vessels. You have the NSF, of course, but NSF is always short of money compared to the DoD. You've got the NASA. There are some opportunities when industry and academia can work together. For example, the SBA STR program. And then I think now, yes, this Infrastructure Act is probably a very good opportunity for everybody, academia, industry. And I think also that there is a lot of funding in the Department of Energy now. If you want, for example, to inspect wind turbine using a drone, I guess you can probably find some funding from ARPA-E or Department of Energy.
Laurent, what about corporates or tech companies? Are you working with them at all? Or are they doing their own skunk works?
So I'm not working with them so far.
Okay.
So yeah.
Got it.
As I said, I'm just starting a lab, so
right.
But I'm open to this type of opportunities for sure.
Okay, good. Dan, what about, how do you see it? Now, did you self-fund this Dronedek, or are you seeing private money or VC money or angel money coming into the
Sure.
space?
Yeah. Because of my experience, I know that when you have an idea and you start a new startup pre-revenue, everybody arbitrarily values that at $9 million or some smaller amount. Not that that's not a lot of money, because it is, but in the scheme of things, it's really not. So if I always look at your equity is your capital of development, and if you allow somebody to assign a $9 million value to your company, and you begin to take investment at that rate, you've done a disservice to everyone, yourself, your IP, your company, and anybody that you took money from, because very shortly you're going to be dead on the side of the road without capital. So for the first 6.5 years on Dronedek, I funded it myself. I put $750,000 in. And keep in mind, for 3 years of that time, I didn't even know if I was going to have my patent or not. So I was kind of in limbo to a certain extent. And then once my patent issued, it kind of opened up the floodgates for me to really get going. But at the end of just about a year ago, I was really struggling, really laboring. I had 25 engineers working every day in India, and just doing a lot of heavy lifting. And I said to myself, wow, I wish I had somebody investing, and just in that moment, I think it was a God thing. One of my really good friends came to me because I hadn't said this to anybody, and it was really out of the blue. And he said, "Hey man, Dronedek," and I said, "Yeah, what about it?" Because I want in. I said, "Really?" I said, "Well, Dave, for the last 6.5 years, I haven't asked one person to put one dime in." He goes, "I know." I go, "Well, I'm not soliciting you." He goes, "I'm soliciting you." And the thing that was really cool about that for me was it had proven to me that people were watching what I was doing, and what I was doing had become investable in the eyes of others. So that was a really flattering, humbling moment for me. So he was my first investor. He put $200,000 in, came in at a $58 million valuation. Very soon after that, a small VC firm came in for another 200,000 at a $92 million valuation. And then we went on to a crowdfunding campaign that commenced in November of 2020, excuse me, and ran through September of 2021. And in that, we raised $3.5 million. We became the highest valuation pre-revenue company to ever successfully raise in the history of all crowdfunding. So I take that very seriously. It's very flattering, and I think it proves that there's a big market acceptance of autonomy and what we're all doing, and that's exciting. So in the last year, in the aggregate, we've now raised $7 million. We're valued currently over 250 million, and we're on to our next level of what the next chapter is going to be in funding. That might be grants, it might be some strategic investment, it could be going public. All these opportunities are in front of us. SPAC, IPO, whatever that might be. We explore everything, and we have nearly 5,000 shareholders at this point, which is really huge. And we've got them, we've got their backs, and we owe it to them to explore every opportunity very deliberately, but to make sure that whatever we do ensures their value and that we're going in the right direction. We're not out just to do a money grab. So that's where we are.
That is phenomenal. I had no idea it was that high evaluation, Dan. But tell me, as you look back, right? You took angel money, you took VC money, and you did crowdfunding. Would you have done it the same way if you had to do it all over again, as far as funding?
I really would. I'm very proud of, if you call it dumb luck or just being smart, it's probably a combination of both. The way that we did it, we've kind of rewritten the playbook. We did not want to approach VCs or private equity early on, because they want to beat you down on your valuation, and they want to take control of your company. And I'm not an ego guy or anything, but nobody is better to run this company right now than me. And that's because I have the vision, but nobody cares about our shareholders like I do. And I'm not going to put that in the hands of anybody else. And so we've been very deliberate about how we've done that. The crowdfunding was awesome because it allows you to build a community of fans. It allows you to publicly discuss your raise. Under every other exemption of capital raise, you can only deal with accredited investors, and you can't really be out there publicizing what you're doing. So it allows that. And then it allows all these investors, nearly 5,000, to come in under one line item on your cap table, which is really important as you go down the progression of capital raising. More sophisticated money doesn't want to see a cluttered up cap table with 5,000 different people on it. That's a lot of nuisance, if you will, to them, and not to me, but that's how they view it, because you're having to fight potentially 5,000 different battles on anything you want to do. So it was really cool and really important to streamline that, to have that fan base, that we have a great community, ton of engagement. I put my phone number out there to the world. I get calls every week from all over the world. I take every call. I personally answered every note, question, comment, negative, whatever it was. I dealt with everything head on. I did it all myself throughout this whole race to this date, and I continue to do that. And that's our culture: transparency, communication, and I want it to come from me. And I want everybody to know that if I have the audacity to ask you to put your hard-earned money into Dronedek, I damn well ought to be on the other end of the call if you have a question or a comment. I don't want it to be a one-way thing where I'm just taking. So that's how we did it, and I wouldn't change it.
Yeah, no, and that's really comforting to hear. But typically, people crowdfund first, then angel, then VC. You did it the opposite. And what platform did you use, just for people's?
We used WeFunder.
Okay.
And
you were happy with that? You were happy with WeFunder for?
I was. I'll tell you what, I was happy and not happy. I'll just elaborate for 1 second on that. I was happy because it gave us the platform to do what we did, and we have a great group of investors. I wasn't happy because their responsiveness to our shareholders was very not good at all. They took a long time to get back, and it ended up falling on us as a negative. And I don't like that. I always say, if I want to upset somebody, I want to earn that myself, because I own everything, and I don't like to pass the buck. So when WeFunder didn't interact on something or execute like they should have, then I was dealing with the brunt of that. And I wasn't a guy that was going to say, hey, that's WeFunder's fault. I own that. We chose to go on WeFunder. And so they're probably the lesser of all evils out there, if that,
right.
But anyway, we can talk about that later.
Sure.
One thing about crowdfunding I do want to say, the illusion, if you're going to crowdfund and you think that you align with WeFunder or Start Engine or Kickstarter, whichever it is, you're not going to all of a sudden be the beneficiary of all their investors. That's a misnomer. The reality is you have to create your own investment community, and that's just the platform to do it. All the inertia and everything that's generated comes from you. And that's why we were so successful. We figured out how to do that, where a lot of people list on there and they think that it's all magic and it's going to happen by itself. That's not the case. So just want to let everybody know that.
That's really good insight, Dan. Thanks for sharing that. So let's move on to you, Laurent. What's next in drone research?
Well, I think next, so of course you've got this package delivery, more and more drones in the farms, and we are the Garden State in New Jersey. So that's probably what's next. And there's probably a very good way also to use the 5G using drones. So I'm not an expert, but 5G can probably bring a lot of capabilities in terms of transmission of the information, for example, and also maybe get a better positioning system for the drones based on that. And then in terms of research, what's next is aerial manipulation. You will put an arm on the drone, you will manipulate, do some more complex tasks, for example, repair something. And you will probably also interact more and more with humans. Drones are usually far away, but maybe they could evolve very close to you and interact with you.
Great. And what are the hard problems that have to be solved going forward?
So energy efficiency. I mean, we can always progress on that, have better batteries, or maybe other system, use solar panels. So be more efficient in general. I think noise is a big problem. So that's why I asked this question. Currently, most of the drones, they are like, they produce like 95 decibel. So it's quite high. So there are some people designing new drones without any moving surfaces, like in MIT, for example. So it doesn't create any noise, but it uses a lot of power. So we really need, to address all these issues, multidisciplinary team of people, working on that, because if you gain on something, you will lose on another thing. So I think we need more and more people working on many disciplines and not only their discipline. So I said energy efficiency, safety, of course. So the regulation is progressing very well. We had this UTM project between the NASA and the FAA in the last few years. So that's great. And I think that's very, very, very nice. So basically the priority of the FAA is safety. So no worry about that. And they want to find a way to share the airspace between the drones and the planes.
Got it. And talk to us a bit about the efforts at Rutgers, right? You've obviously just started a lab. What about other colleagues at Rutgers, other departments? Yeah. How strong do you expect the drone sector or department or area of research to be in, let's say, 5 years?
So at Rutgers, now we have a few faculties working on drones. For example, one faculty created what we call the Navigator. It's a drone that can be in the air, in the water, in the air, in the water. So that is very interesting for the Navy. We have people working on agriculture. So the interconnection and interaction between the drones and the mobile robots. There are some people working on the safety. What happens if you hack a drone? Can you demonstrate that you can hack a drone? There are some people working on the reliability. How many times, how many hours can you safely fly a drone before something breaks? So we have a very new facility at Rutgers. It is called the Emil Buller Flight Lab. So it's a 25 cubic feet cage where you can test a drone in many conditions. We will soon have a very big wind wall to study all the thing related to the wind. And I guess it could be great to study also the acoustic, so the noise, and also invest in such equipments. So that's something that is indoor, where we can test a lot of things. I would like also to have some industrial partners coming and test their drones at Rutgers. But then the next step, maybe in 5 years, would be to have a large outdoor facility to fly and test maybe the flying taxi or the new concept of drones.
Great. Thank you for that, Laurent. Okay, so Dan, to you, where do you see Dronedek being, let's say 2 years from now and 5 years from now?
Yeah, well, 2 years from now, we're going to be rolling out strategically in zip codes that we identify by specific metrics that would include a willing municipality, a demographically rich user base, and then accompanying delivery infrastructure. And so, it's one thing to put drone decks out there, but you want to make sure that they're going to be utilized, right? So we look at all those different metrics and then we roll out. We're in discussions with several markets right now, smart cities, new subdivisions that want to be drone friendly, municipalities that want to be first, that always want to be the first and want to offer to their constituency the fact that they're cutting edge. So, when we started this, two of the biggest hurdles I thought we would have would be raising capital and then finding areas to deploy. And what we found is that every community wants to be the first drone deck community, and there's a lot of capital out there for a great idea that in an emerging market. So that was very refreshing. That's where we are. So I can't really answer specifically where we're going to be because we're evaluating multiple opportunities, but I will say you cannot buy a drone deck. You can only subscribe to it. We know that a big impediment to adaptation would be if people had to spend thousands of dollars on a drone deck because it's a very expensive, feature-rich device, right? So the way we defeat that is offer it $15 a month for a residential user, much like an Amazon Prime model. And we're actually envisioning giving it away for a period of time in advance of charging to accelerate acceptance and penetration. We know that autonomous delivery happens through economy of scale. So it's important that we blanket and saturate markets. And that's what we want to do by giving them away. And then our strategy is to pull all the shippers and deliverers onto our platform because we know that there's nothing more compelling than a customer telling their vendor how they want something to be done, right? So that's our strategy for rollout. I think our biggest risk of execution is in that moment when we start giving these away. Everybody's going to want one everywhere, and we can't get ahead of ourselves on a grab, a greed grab is what I would call it, where we don't want to miss all these markets wanting to be Dronedek markets, and then we lose our execution precision because we're going everywhere. So I think that's our biggest risk. I know it sounds a little self-serving to say that because it's probably a positive, but if you don't manage that correctly, it will be a negative.
Sure, sure. So before we get to questions, tell us just one thing that we should all know about the future of drones. Laurent?
So I would say that's exciting, promising, and safe. Don't worry.
Great. Dan?
Drone delivery is going to happen. It's a huge leap in advancement of our society. It's going to make life greater. Everything is going to be a positive, lowering costs, lowering emissions, speeding up convenience. We're a spoiled culture already, right? We want everything right now, and this is just going to expand on that and optimize that. So it's an exciting, great time. Embrace drone and autonomous delivery. It's coming whether you want it or not. And if you love it or not, you're going to end up loving it. I really believe that.
Got it. Thanks for that. Okay, so there's a question about does Dronedek support package pickup by the drone? And then the secondary question of that, do you have plans to offer a high capacity pickup or drop off solution?
Thank you. Thanks for your question. Absolutely. We have actually 2 completely issued utility patents, one in 17, one in 19. We have 2 more patents in examination right now. In all, it's 111 patent claims that we've either filed for or have been awarded. It's a very robust platform, and it does include both shipping and receiving. We do have envisioned multiple configurations of a Dronedek in our IP. It could be a vault in the ground. It could be a balcony, patio, porch mounted. It could be a roof hatch on a commercial building or a home. It could be put in your backyard or at curbside. We do it for commercial. We have 3 sizes envisioned: a small, medium, and large. We have the residential unit, which is a smaller unit. We also have a high density urban area or cluster box configuration for multifamily. And then we have the portable unit that you saw in the pickup truck there. So that's all on our roadmap. I would say that we're at the bag phone level right now when the first cell phone came out, if that makes sense. And we want to get to the iPhone 13. So we've got an evolution that we're executing on. Some of the features we have may never make it to market, like anthrax, biohazard, or explosive detection and reporting. Those are things that we have in our patents. We have every great idea that came up, we put it in our patents, and hopefully we can put all those into the product at some point, but not necessarily. So just want to give you the diversity. Shipping and receiving, yes. We also are going to be archiving all of your transactional history. And so if you get to, the return logistics market in the US is a $1 trillion market. If you want to return something, you pull up the return icon on your Dronedek app. It populates your last 12 purchases. You select the item you want to send back. It notifies Amazon, dispatches UPS. You simply drop the item in your Dronedek. It gets picked up. You didn't have to find a receipt. You didn't have to print a label, and you get your credit back. That's part of our vision. So we're excited about all these enhancements that you are going to become woven into the fabric of your life and just make life easier.
That's really fascinating. Now, you mentioned, when we saw that video, we think of suburbs. A lot of us live in suburbs and we have a house, but the prospect of delivery to apartments is really even more beneficial, right? Because it saves so much more time. But are there certain constraints that need to be overcome for high rises or apartments?
Really, the same constraints that have to be overcome to make any delivery happen would fall into that same category. But going to our point, we want to blanket areas. We don't want to pick and choose, because then you're getting away from the efficiency, right? So we want to. 80% of a market is typically residential, 20% is commercial. We want to blanket all those. We don't want to just focus on a medical use case or something like that, we think that is contra to the saturation efficiency that we need. So that's why we want to roll out in blanket areas, and that would encompass, every one of the areas. Every day in the U.S. there's 1.7 million packages stolen. Believe it or not, that's a huge number, right? If you don't get insurance on an item at UPS, your default amount is $100. So you got 1.7 million times $100. That's $170 million a day in lost product, right? It's a big number. So it's going to happen. We're going to be disrupting a lot of the things out there that are negatively impacting last mile, and that's a big one right there.
Dan, what keeps you up at night? Is there competition that you're concerned about?
You'd be naive if you didn't say there were competition or anticipate it. We believe Dronedek is the biggest market opportunity in the world. And the reason I say that is Dronedek is poised to be the gateway to every home and business in the world, essentially, right? The drones are the commodity. We're the funnel. We're the monopoly. Every delivery will start or end at a Dronedek. So if you didn't think that somebody was going to try to impede on that, you'd be lying to yourself, right? I used to, whenever I'd see an illustration from Amazon or Google or one of these big guys, and they didn't have a Dronedek in their ecosystem, it always was offensive to me, right? I would say, "Where's Dronedek?" But then I started thinking to myself, what if they were showing a Dronedek in that equation? That would really be even more frustrating and frightening to me, right? Because now they're not yielding to our IP. So I think the fact that you haven't seen those guys showing that in their ecosystem, and they've yielded to our intellectual property is a good thing. And I'm really happy about where we are in our development, consistent with the other development in drones and things like that. And I think when the industry green lights, we're going to be right at the start finish line, shoulder to shoulder with everybody, and we're going to be in a great position to rightfully position ourselves in the first position that we hold through our IP.
Great stuff. Laurent, what about talent? Is that, are you getting enough? I have a feeling you're getting a lot of interest in your programs. How do you see the talent pipeline? It's something that we're all concerned about, STEM, tech, making sure those pipelines are strong and robust so that those jobs can be filled.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think there is a shortage of people, working on drones, flying, able also to fly a drone, and also in general, a shortage of people working on artificial intelligence. So that's why we've got this program at Rutgers. We want to train the next generation of engineers, the one who will join this type of companies. So yeah, I mean, there are more and more people interested in aerospace, especially about space, because there are also many things going on in space, and also drones now are used on Mars. As you know, there is one helicopter almost autonomous on Mars. So I think there will be a big interest. There is currently a big interest on space, about space.
Got it. And how about you, Dan? How do you see it as an entrepreneur who needs the talent to grow your company? Is that a concern or a constraint?
It's obviously a concern with what we're seeing in the marketplace right now. It's a concern for a couple reasons. One is the talent available on its face? And secondly, if it is available, at what price, right? We're seeing a great inflation throughout the ecosystem, not only in labor, but in everything that we're buying in our daily lives. So, as a startup, pre-revenue company, runway and capital are all very near and dear to us. So we always have to evaluate all those different metrics. And so far, we've got great people. Everyone's really highly invested in our company. There's a ton of enthusiasm. We're doing something new and revolutionary. So there's obviously a lot of hype around that. But going forward, we can only hope that we continue to attract the same level commensurate with what we've had. And we hope that the Dronedek opportunity helps us stand out, so we were able to attract that talent.
Excellent. So this has been a great conversation. Thank you for joining us today, both Laurent and Dan. We usually end with a poem or a saying or a quote. Shall we start with you, Laurent?
Okay, so I've got a quote from a French author named Rabelais. He said, "Science without conscience is only ruin of the soul." So let's say that drones without safety is a ruin, but we are going to do it.
Thank you. Dan?
Yeah, my personal mantra that I live by is persistence pays. Excuse my French, but if you throw enough shit at the wall, something's gonna stick. And I've always, yeah, try again, right? There's no failure's not an option. I don't even like to use the word try. You either do it or you don't. So I would just say persistence pays. This is America, the land of opportunity, and go for your dream. It's out there and it's within your reach.
Wonderful. Great words to end by. Thank you, Laurent. Thank you, Dan. Thanks for joining us. I hope you enjoyed the show. Please like it, leave a review, and subscribe. See you soon.